In this video, we will examine the shape of the short-run aggregate supply curve and attempt to understand why it slopes upwards. Let's just jump right in. By definition, short-run aggregate supply represents the quantity of real GDP supplied at different price levels in an economy. A key factor distinguishing the short run from the long run is the fact that the short run holds input costs such as labor and materials constant and allows for the prices of products to rise. In simple English, firms can sell their goods and services at higher prices but pay the same amount for labor and other production costs. In the long run, labor and production costs can adjust. If you're still confused, don't worry, we'll take a look at an example towards the end of the video. Here's our short-run aggregate supply curve laid out on the same axes as our aggregate demand curve. Again, this is mostly an exercise in developing good habits and drawing your diagrams, but focus on the correct labels and use them consistently. Your y-axis should be spelled out price level and your x-axis should be spelled out real GDP. Label your upward sloping short-run aggregate supply curve AS and mark the corresponding points by P, L, and Y for national income or real GDP. If you are demonstrating an increase in the price level, it is an expansion of aggregate supply, and a decrease in the price level is a contraction of aggregate supply. We must understand why the short-run aggregate supply curve slopes upwards. The main reasoning behind this was referenced earlier. I'll illustrate now with an example. In the first column, we list our key measures that will help us understand why producers are willing to supply more at greater price levels. We have total output, selling price per unit, cost per unit, profit, and profit per unit. Initially, the firm is producing 100 units and sells them for $5 each. To simplify, we'll assume they only have labor costs, which are $3 per unit. The total profit for 100 units is equal to total revenue, $500, minus total cost, $300. This is equal to $200. When we divide that by the amount of units produced, we can arrive at our profit per unit. Now let's see what happens when the price level rises and we produce more. Producing 200 units and charging $6 per unit at a cost of $3 per unit allows us to make a profit of $600. Our per unit profit has risen from $2 to $3. The reason our profitability is increasing is because in the short run we can increase our selling price, but not increase the cost of labor. The argument holds that in the long run, wages adjust, but not in the short run. If we take this a step further to 300 units selling at a price of $8 each, we can earn a profit of $1,500 if we are paying $3 per unit in cost. This gives us a profit per unit of $5, which is clearly greater per unit profit than our initial output level of 100 units and the corresponding profitability of $2 per unit. That wraps up our video on why the short-run aggregate supply curve slopes upwards. I hope it was helpful and strengthens your understanding of this very important curve. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below or email me at EnhanceTuition@gmail.com. Additionally, you can message me on Twitter at EnhanceTuition, and don't forget to subscribe.